When the emergency lights flickered against the cold steel of the server racks, I realized that 15 years of loyalty meant absolutely nothing to the greedy owners. The massive thunderous storm outside was threatening to tear the building apart, but the real disaster was waiting inside the executive boardroom. If you want to see how a quiet manager can topple an arrogant corporate empire using nothing but legal regulations, listen closely to this story. My name is Roxanne, and I am the operations director of a massive data facility that serves as the digital backbone for our entire region. While the wealthy owner spent his days relaxing on expensive tropical beaches, I stayed awake during long nights to ensure the county emergency lines and hospital networks never experienced a blackout. The complex machinery required constant monitoring, and I knew every single wire and generator switch inside that concrete structure like the back of my hand. The facility owner, Arthur, bought this location when it was just an abandoned warehouse filled with broken machinery and old computer parts. I worked tirelessly to transform it into a profitable empire, sacrificing my personal life and missing family milestones to keep the data flowing safely. Arthur simply signed the paychecks while I handled the true pressure, earning the respect of the local authorities and securing massive utility contracts based entirely on my flawless safety record. For more than a decade, the entire county relied on my ability to manage the delicate cooling systems and high-voltage electrical grids. Whenever a severe storm threatened to disrupt the power supply, I would camp on the hard concrete floor to keep the generators running smoothly. Arthur reaped all the financial rewards of my dedication, buying luxury vehicles and bragging to investors about a business that he did not even understand how to operate on a daily basis. The peace shattered completely during an unexpected morning meeting when Arthur arrived alongside his arrogant 24-year-old son, Colton. Colton wore an expensive designer vest and carried a laptop filled with ridiculous modern business concepts that had no practical application in our high-stakes facility. Arthur proudly announced that his son had recently completed a generic business degree and would be taking over my position as the director of operations, effective immediately. The corporate executives expected me to quietly accept a massive demotion to a completely meaningless desk job with significantly lower pay. They gave me the insulting title of compliance archivist, explicitly stating that my new duty was to organize dusty paper files and assist Colton with his calendar. Arthur claimed they still valued my deep institutional knowledge, but I knew they simply wanted to steal my experience before throwing me out of the company permanently. Colton openly mocked my practical experience during his first day, using absurd buzzwords like platform synergy and digital disruption while discussing critical infrastructure. He viewed our essential daily safety protocols as outdated habits and demanded that my lead technician, Derek, bypass the standard system checks to increase short-term profit margins. Derek stared at me in absolute panic, because everyone knew that Colton lacked the basic technical skills to handle an actual emergency. They forced me into a tiny converted storage room near the noisy loading dock, which lacked windows and smelled constantly of diesel exhaust. I sat at a cheap folding table, listening to the familiar hum of the machinery through the thin drywall while my anger slowly transformed into absolute determination. I refused to scream or argue with the new management, choosing instead to focus my energy on the heavy cardboard boxes of historical legal documents. As I opened the dusty compliance binders, I discovered that our multi-million-dollar federal grants were legally contingent on my specific credentials. The government funding explicitly required the continuous active oversight of a state-licensed master infrastructure operator with my exact identification number. Any sudden modification to the leadership structure had to be reported to the Federal Oversight Committee within 72 hours, or the entire facility would face immediate closure. The surprises continued as I reviewed the high-level insurance policies for the regional hospital networks and the emergency dispatch systems. The legal underwriters had approved our coverage based entirely on my personal safety record and 15 years of unblemished operational experience. Arthur had used my signature on every single contract addendum to convince wealthy clients that their data was secure, without realizing that my name was the literal foundation of his business. My phone buzzed with an urgent text message from Derek, who explained that Colton was attempting to alter the primary server configurations without running a safety backup. The arrogant new director wanted to automate the cooling tower sequence to impress the board of directors during an upcoming inspection. I instructed Derek to provide full administrative access and document the entire directive in writing, allowing Colton to bear the full responsibility for his own foolishness. Instead of running across the building to save the company from another disaster, I stayed inside my dark closet and completed the required regulatory paperwork. I filled out the official federal disclosure forms, explicitly stating that I was no longer overseeing the critical life safety infrastructure at the facility. I sent the certified documents directly to the State Regulatory Board, the Department of Homeland Security Infrastructure Division, and the primary insurance underwriters. The regulatory response was swift and completely merciless as federal inspectors and emergency adjusters swarmed the facility the very next afternoon. They immediately halted all data operations because the company was now in direct violation of multiple federal safety mandates and insurance requirements. Arthur and Colton watched in total shock as their largest logistics clients canceled their partnerships on the spot, citing a fatal breach of contract regarding qualified personnel oversight. A terrified Arthur cornered me in the hallway, desperately begging me to sign a retroactive document and resume my previous operational duties to save his empire. I calmly declined his frantic offer, pointing out that my new job description as a compliance archivist did not include managing critical facility emergencies. I packed my remaining personal belongings into a small box and walked out of the concrete building while the executives faced massive legal penalties. The company collapsed into total bankruptcy within a matter of weeks, proving that an empire built on nepotism and arrogance cannot survive without real expertise. I learned that true value comes from your unique knowledge and dedication rather than a corporate title or unearned family wealth. Never allow greedy people to diminish your personal worth, because the quiet professionals working in the background always hold the power to change everything.